I'm staring at the auction live stream on my phone, knuckles white around the empty velvet ring box, while the camera zooms in on a familiar gold band under harsh studio lights. I sold the ring, I type into the live chat, then say it out loud when the host invites callers, my own voice cracking through the speakers like a confession. Heat climbs my throat as the pawnbroker on screen goes still and says, calm as a blade, "No, you didn't." And his eyes flick past the camera, right as two plainclothes detectives rise behind my mother-in-law and quietly follow her toward the exit. The ring rotates on a little stand, catching light like it remembers my hand. The chat explodes, a waterfall of laughing emojis and accusations and prayers I can't even read fast enough. I can't hear my own breathing over the tinny sound of the auctioneer's voice. And then the pawnbroker says her name like he's reading it off a form he has signed in ink. My mother-in-law's shoulders tense in the audience row, sharp under her cream blazer. She does that thing she always does when she's caught. Chin up, mouth soft, eyes already practicing a story. The detectives don't touch her. They don't have to. They just move one step behind, like they've been assigned to the shape of her shadow. The velvet ring box creaks in my fist when my grip tightens. The hinge gives a tiny metal click that makes my stomach flip, because it's the same click I heard the night my husband proposed. Quiet, intimate hours. Now it sounds like a latch. The host's voice swells, bright and cheerful, trying to hold the room together. Okay, folks, he laughs, but the laugh is too high. Let's keep it respectful. My screen shakes because my hands won't stop trembling. The ring on the stand looks too clean, too polished. The inside edge catches the camera for a fraction of a second, and my brain reaches for the old details, the way a tongue worries a missing tooth. The little notch on the inner band, the tiny unevenness near the engraving, the place my thumbnail always finds when I'm anxious. My pulse beats in my ears so loud it feels like a warning beep. No, I whisper, like the word can rewind time. No. The pawnbroker leans closer to his camera. His background is sterile, white walls, glass cases, a security monitor with multiple angles. He looks like someone who has learned to speak in receipts, not feelings. You want to confess, he says, and it's not cruel. It's almost tired. Fine, but don't put this on the wrong person. My mouth tastes like pennies. I glance at the ring box again, empty, its black velvet worn in a perfect oval where the ring used to sit. The absence is a physical weight. My mother-in-law's phone is in her hand now. I see the screen glow against her palm. She's typing, fast, probably already crafting a message to my husband that will land like a knife and look like concern. One detective murmurs something near her shoulder. I can't hear it, but I see her laugh. Light, offended, practiced. Then she stands, not rushed, not panicked, like she's leaving a charity luncheon because she has somewhere better to be. The detective shifts with her. The second one angles toward the aisle, blocking without blocking. I've coordinated enough crises at work to recognize the choreography. Keep it calm, keep it quiet, keep witnesses from turning into chaos. My brain snaps into a checklist the way it always does when fear gets too big for my chest. Preserve the evidence, identify the players, call the right authority. I tap my screen to start a recording. My thumb slips the first time because sweat slicks the glass. I try again and the little red dot appears, steady, indifferent. I tilt the phone so it catches the pawnbroker's face, the ring on the stand, and, if the camera angle holds, the audience row where my mother-in-law is moving toward the exit. Sir, I say into the call-in line, voice thin. Say it again, please. The host flinches at the word please, like he doesn't want to be responsible for whatever comes next. The pawnbroker doesn't look at him. He looks straight into the lens. Your mother-in-law consigned that ring, he says. She brought it to my counter. Her identification is on file. Her signature is on the agreement. My stomach drops so hard it feels like falling through a stair. What? The host blurts. And it's the first time he sounds like a real person. My mother-in-law turns her head, like she can feel my eyes through the screen. Her gaze sweeps the room, searching for whoever is watching. Her lips press together, and for 1 second, the mask cracks. Just enough for me to see the anger underneath. She lifts her phone, and I know she's calling my husband. I know she's going to get ahead of this with her own version. I don't let her. I end the call-in line and hit the phone icon. My fingers fumble, and my contacts blur, but muscle memory finds 3 numbers fast. My husband, then 911, then my supervisor's emergency line if I need a witness from my side. I choose the one that makes my hands stop shaking. 911. The ring box hinge clicks again when my grip shifts, and the sound anchors me. Metal, real, undeniable. Emergency services, the operator answers, and her voice is calm in a way that almost makes me cry. My throat closes. I force air in. I'm watching an auction live stream. The ring being sold is stolen. The pawnbroker just identified my mother-in-law as the consignor. Detectives are following her out right now. Are you on scene? No, I say, and the word burns. I'm remote. I have the stream recording. I can describe her. I can give you the location on the broadcast. Stay on the line, she says. Tell me what you see. I swallow hard and focus like it's a job. The camera on the live stream swings, following the ring, but the pawnbroker's eyes keep flicking to the side, to the exit, to the movement. My mother-in-law reaches the doors. One detective says something again, low, controlled. She lifts her chin higher. Her hand goes to her bracelet like she's steadying herself, and the gold catches the light. Then she does something I've seen her do when she thinks she's untouchable. She smiles, and she pushes the door open anyway. My breath stops. On my phone screen, the detective's hand rises, not grabbing, not yanking, just a gentle stop, a professional barrier. My mother-in-law's smile wavers. The pawnbroker's voice cuts through the live stream one more time, sharp as a stamp on paper. Do not let her leave, he says, and the room seems to hold its breath with me. Do not let her leave, he says, and the room seems to hold its breath with me. The dispatcher's voice stays steady in my ear, like a metronome trying to keep my heart from sprinting off a cliff. Ma'am, I need the location, she says. What city is the auction happening in? I blink hard and force my eyes back to the corner of the live stream where the small print sits under the host's bright grin. My phone screen is slick under my thumb. The velvet ring box creaks again in my fist, that little hinge giving me a soft metal click every time my grip shifts. Downtown, I say, and then I catch myself because downtown could be anywhere. It's an auction studio. The listing shows a street name. I'm reading it now. I read it slowly, like I'm spelling a prayer I don't fully believe in. The dispatcher repeats it back, crisp, and I hear faint radio chatter behind her. Quick bursts of sound that make the whole thing feel realer than my living room ever has. Stay on the line, she says. Tell me what she looks like. I keep my phone angled toward the screen, my other hand pressed flat on the table so I don't fling the ring box across the room like an accusation. My mother-in-law is still on camera in the crowd shot, half turned toward the exit, chin lifted, hair perfect, lips set like she's being inconvenienced, cream blazer, gold bracelet, that same pearl stud in her left ear that she wore to my wedding and to my grandmother's funeral, like it's her official uniform for watching other people's moments. She's late 50s, I say. Blonde, short, she's with two detectives, plain clothes. She's trying to leave. On screen, the detective's hand is still up, palm out, professional. My mother-in-law's smile looks glued on. The host is talking too fast now, words spilling like he's trying to mop up a flood with his mouth. The ring is still rotating on the stand, slow and deliberate, catching the studio lights with every turn. And I can't stop staring at it because that ring isn't just metal, it's history. It's a story hammered into gold and shaped to fit a finger like a promise you can't take back without making noise. I know every inch of it. The engraving on the inside that you only see when you tilt it just right. The tiny chip on the prong that a jeweler once told me was nothing, and my husband insisted made it ours because real things aren't perfect. The faint mark I can find with my thumbnail in the dark when I'm anxious. The way a person touches a scar just to make sure it's still there. My thumb does it now out of habit, only there's no ring on my finger. Just air, just the memory of weight. The absence makes my hand feel wrong, like I've misplaced a bone. In my head, I see my husband years ago, standing in a place that smells like pine cleaner and warm bread, hands shaking so hard the ring nearly slips. His voice is soft. His eyes are bright. He says my name like it's the only one he knows. He opens the box, the same velvet box, the same hinge click, and for a second everything feels simple. Mine. Ours. Then I see my mother-in-law in that memory too, sitting rigid with her hands folded, watching like she's appraising an object she plans to reclaim. She smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. Her gaze goes straight to the ring, not my face. Not our joy. The first time she touches it, she doesn't ask. It's Thanksgiving, plates clattering, people talking over each other, the air heavy with butter and cinnamon. She reaches across the table and takes my hand like she's blessing me, and her fingers close around my ring finger with a little squeeze that feels less like affection and more like a check for authenticity. Oh, she says, voice sweet. There it is. There it is. Not you look happy. Not welcome to the family. There it is, like I'm wearing something borrowed that she's been tracking. The dispatcher's radio crackles again, a sharp little burst that yanks me back to the present. Are you still seeing her? She asks. Yes, I say. My throat is tight. Yes, she's still there. My mother-in-law shifts her purse higher on her shoulder and tilts her phone toward her face like she's about to make a call that will turn this into my fault. She's always done that. Small comments at holidays. Little jokes in front of people who laugh because laughing is easier than noticing cruelty. Well, she'll say, eyes on my husband. Marriages don't last like they used to. Or, rings can be misplaced. Her hand lingering too long when she hugs me. Her eyes flicking to my finger like she's counting inventory. It's pressure that doesn't bruise the skin, but leaves marks anyway. By the time money gets tight, she already knows exactly where to press. She knows my husband's pride. She knows my fear of becoming a burden. She knows how much I want to prove I deserve the life I married into. The bills stack on the counter, white envelopes like teeth. My husband says, "We'll figure it out," but his jaw is clenched in that way that means he's swallowing stress until it becomes silence. And my mother-in-law steps into that silence like she owns it. "I can help," she says, "if you'll be sensible." Sensible, her favorite word when she's about to take something and call it kindness. On the live stream, the pawnbroker glances toward the side again, and his mouth tightens. The detective's posture changes, subtle, but I feel it through the screen like a shift in weather. My mother-in-law's eyes flash, and for 1 second, that perfect smile drops away and something colder shows through. My phone buzzes against my palm. Incoming call. My husband's name on the screen. The dispatcher is still talking, still asking me to stay with her, still guiding me through a checklist while my life tries to split into 2 conversations at once. "Ma'am," the dispatcher says, firm now, "do not hang up. Officers are en route. I need you to keep watching and tell me if she gets out." My husband's call keeps buzzing, insistent, like a heartbeat I can't ignore. On the screen, my mother-in-law shifts her weight toward the door again. The detective's hand lifts higher, and my thumb hovers over my husband's name, shaking, because whatever I choose next is going to change what he believes about me. And my thumb hovers over my husband's name, shaking, because whatever I choose next is going to change what he believes about me. My phone buzzes again, and the vibration feels like a warning under my skin. The dispatcher's voice stays in my ear, firm and anchored. "Ma'am," she says, "I need you with me. If you can't watch, tell me now." "I can watch," I breathe. "I'm here." I hit decline on my husband's call, and the guilt hits so fast it's physical, like I swallowed a stone. I tap out a text with my thumb while my eyes stay glued to the live stream. "I'm on with emergency services. Please stay put. Please answer me." The little whoosh of the sent message is too soft for how loud my heart is. On screen, my mother-in-law shifts again, purse strap tight in her hand. The detective's palm is still up, that calm, professional stop that says, "Not today." The host keeps talking, but his words blur into a hum behind the sound of my own pulse. I force myself into procedure the way I do at work, when everything is going wrong, and people start looking at me like I'm supposed to know what to do. I take a screenshot of the auction title, another of the ring's close-up, another of the crowd angle where her cream blazer and pearl studs are visible. Evidence, time-stamped by my phone automatically, no matter how messy my hands are. My ring box hinge clicks when I shift my grip, and that tiny metallic sound drags me backward through time so hard I taste roasted garlic like it's in the room. I'm not in my living room anymore. I'm at my grandmother's dinner table, the one she covers with a lace runner that smells faintly like starch and old perfume. The kitchen is warm, almost too warm. Sweet wine, butter, garlic caramelizing in the pan. Everyone is talking at once, forks clinking, chairs squeaking on the wood floor. My husband's knee presses against mine under the table, a small, steadying touch. And then my ring feels lighter. It's so subtle I almost miss it. Not loose exactly, just different. Like the weight has shifted on my finger. Like the stone is sitting a fraction higher. Like something has been adjusted when I wasn't looking. I keep smiling through conversation because that's what you do at family dinners. You swallow discomfort and call it manners. But my thumb keeps circling the ring, searching. There, the tiny notch I always find is not there. My mouth goes dry. I excuse myself and stand, and the chair legs scrape just a little too loud. "Everything okay?" my husband asks, and I hear the concern in his voice. "I'm fine," I lie, already halfway to the hall. The bathroom light is too bright, that harsh overhead glare that makes every flaw look like a confession. I wash my hands even though they're not dirty, just to buy myself a few seconds. The faucet rattles. The mirror fogs at the edges from the warm water. I lift my hand and stare at the ring like it's a stranger wearing my memories. The stone looks right. Clear. Perfect. Too perfect. It doesn't catch the light the way mine does. It doesn't throw those tiny, stubborn rainbows that used to make me laugh when I was nervous. This one is clean in a way that makes my skin crawl, like a copy of my life printed on glossy paper. I twist the band and check the inside. The engraving is there, but the depth looks wrong, like it was etched by a machine that didn't care about hands trembling. My stomach drops so hard I grip the sink. In the dining room, laughter rises, and the sound feels far away, like I'm underwater. When I go back out, my mother-in-law is at the end of the table, pouring wine like she's the hostess of everything, including my marriage. Her eyes flick to my hand. Just a flick, but I see it. It's the same look she had at my wedding. Possession. Inventory. I wait until the plates are cleared and people are distracted by dessert. I corner her near this pantry where the air smells like flour and cinnamon and the faint sourness of old onions. My voice is low. Did you touch my ring? She lets out a soft laugh, like I've told a joke only she understands. Oh, sweetheart, she says, and the word sweetheart lands like a slap. You get emotional when you're stressed. I'm not emotional, I say, and my hands are shaking enough that the ring flashes in the dim pantry light. I'm asking a question. She tilts her head and studies me, and I feel like a receipt she's deciding whether to keep. If you're having money trouble, she says, voice smooth, you can tell me. We can handle it privately. Privately. As in, she controls the story. As in, no one else gets to hear it. As in, I owe her. I swallow hard. I'm not having money trouble, I lie again, because my husband's pride is a fragile thing, and my fear is bigger than my honesty. Her smile doesn't change, but her eyes sharpen. You don't want to embarrass him, she murmurs. Not after everything we've done for you. Done for me. Given me. Loaned me. Words that all mean the same thing in her mouth. I own you. That night, after we get home, the bills sit on the counter like silent judges. I open envelopes with fingers that feel numb. A notice, a deadline, a number that makes my vision narrow. My husband is in the shower, water pounding, and I can't tell him because I can already hear his voice tightening with shame. I do the math in my head the way I do when I'm triaging a crisis. What can wait? What can't? Who will break if I tell them? What I can fix alone. The ring feels heavy on my finger then, but not in a comforting way, in a trapped way. I take it off, just for a second. I hold it over my palm and the metal is colder than it should be. The velvet box hinge clicks open, and that sound feels like crossing a line. I put my ID in my pocket like I'm going somewhere normal, like I'm not about to commit a sin I'll carry in my chest for years. The pawn shop door is glass, with a little bell that gives a sharp, bright ding when I push it open. The air inside smells like metal and old carpet, and someone's stale cologne. I step up to the counter, ring pinched between my fingers, and for a beat I can't tell if the weight in my hand is guilt or proof. I step up to the counter, ring pinched between my fingers, and for a beat I can't tell if the weight in my hand is guilt or proof. The man behind the glass looks up with the kind of neutral face you develop when you see people at their worst every day. A small security camera above him blinks a steady red. The fluorescent lights hum. The air smells like metal, old carpet, and someone's stale cologne that never fully leaves. What can I do for you? He asks, voice even. My throat tightens. I slide my driver's license across the counter first, like I'm trying to be good at this, like I'm trying to make it clean. I need to pawn something, I say, and the words scrape on the way out. He puts on thin gloves with a soft snap that makes my stomach clench. He takes the ring from my fingers like it's nothing, like it's just an item, not the moment my husband's hands shook, not the way my mother-in-law's eyes lingered. He sets it on a small felt pad and lifts a loop to his eye. I hear the faint click of the ring touching the counter, a tiny metal sound that feels louder than it should. He rotates it slowly. The stone flashes under the light, too perfect, too bright, too clean. His gaze flicks to the inside of the band, and for a second his brow tightens. What's it worth? I ask, too fast. He doesn't answer right away. He looks at me instead, then at my license, then at the ring again. Is this yours? He says. It's a simple question, but it lands like a trapdoor. Yes, I say, because I can't say I don't know anymore. He nods once, like he hears lies all day and doesn't have time to argue with them. He turns a small monitor toward himself and types. Keys clack. The printer behind him whirs awake with a dry mechanical growl. I watch his hands the way I watch paramedics in a crisis, trying to read the procedure, trying to predict the outcome. He asks for my phone number. He asks for my address. He asks if I understand the terms. I say yes to everything because I'm trying to survive the next month, not the next decade. When he slides the paperwork back to me, I sign with my own pen, pressing too hard, the ink carving my name into the page like it's a confession. The ring box hinge clicks in my pocket when I shift, and the sound makes my pulse jump. I take the cash with fingers that feel numb. It's not a lot, not compared to what the ring should mean. But it's enough to keep the lights on, enough to silence the envelope on the counter for one more week. Keep your copy, he says, tapping the receipt. I fold it carefully and tuck it deep into my wallet like it's a lifeline. Outside, the bell over the pawn shop door gives a sharp ding when I leave, bright and cheerful in a way that feels cruel. The cold air hits my face, and I breathe like I've been underwater. In my car, I sit with the steering wheel under my palms and listen to my own breathing until it slows. Then my phone buzzes. A text from my mother-in-law. No greeting, just one line. Be sensible. My stomach turns. Because she hasn't asked if I'm okay. She hasn't asked where I am. She's just checking the leash. At home, I pay what I can. I shove the rest into a mental box labeled later and tape it shut. My husband kisses my forehead and tells me we'll figure it out. And I smile like the ring isn't missing from my finger and my chest isn't full of secrets. The velvet ring box sits in the back of a drawer, empty, its outline of absence staring up at me when I open it. The days blur into routines. Work, dishes, bills, my husband's laughter when he thinks things are normal. And then, like a match to dry paper, the accusation comes. It comes fast and it comes loud. Sunday brunch at my grandmother's house, casseroles lined up on the counter, cinnamon rolls cooling, coffee rich and bitter in the air. The dining room is crowded with cousins and aunties and people who love me in soft, distant ways. My mother-in-law arrives in that cream blazer like she's stepping onto a stage. She doesn't sit right away. She stands near the end of the table where everyone can see her. One hand lifted like she's about to bless the room. "Oh," she says, voice sweet enough to rot your teeth. "Before we eat, can we talk about something?" The room quiets. Forks pause. A chair squeaks. My husband's knee touches mine under the table, a steadying point I cling to. My mother-in-law's eyes land on my bare hand, and her lips curve. "Where is it?" she asks. My stomach drops. "What?" I manage. "The ring," she says like she's asking about a serving spoon. "The family ring, the one you've been wearing." My husband blinks, confused. "Mom," he starts, but she cuts him off with a small laugh. "I noticed it's gone," she says, and then she turns her head, addressing everyone. "I'm just concerned. You know how stress can make people do impulsive things." Heat climbs my throat. I feel every eye on my hand, on my finger, on the place where a symbol used to be. I open my mouth and nothing comes out clean. My mother-in-law leans forward slightly, like she's offering compassion. "Honey," she says, using the same word she used in the pantry. "Do you need help with your problem?" Problem. The word hits the table like a plate shattering. My husband's chair scrapes back hard. "Stop," he says, voice sharp. "What are you talking about?" She sighs, long and theatrical. "I didn't want to do this," she says, and that's when I realize she absolutely wanted to do this. But there are things. Late rent notices, all those extra hours you've been working, the sudden panic whenever money comes up. My husband turns to me, and I see the doubt trying to form. Not because he wants to believe her, but because she's building it like she's laying bricks. I hear my own heartbeat like a radio beep in my ears. Steady, insistent, impossible to ignore. I start and my voice shakes. "I didn't steal anything." She lifts her hands, palms out. "Of course not," she says too quick. "I'm just saying, rings don't vanish. People make choices." My grandmother's face goes pale. My aunt's mouth tightens. Someone clears their throat like they're trying to swallow the moment. My husband steps closer to me, his shoulder brushing mine like a shield. "Enough," he says. "If you have something to say it to me, not like this." My mother-in-law's eyes soften, and it's the most dangerous softness I've ever seen. "I am saying it to you," she replies, quiet now. "Because you deserve to know who you married." The room tilts. My hands go cold. I taste coffee and cinnamon and something bitter underneath it. Fear. Then my phone buzzes against my thigh. A number I don't recognize. I answer without thinking, because my brain is already in crisis mode, already reaching for procedure. "This is Detective Harris," a man's voice says, calm and professional. "I'd like to speak with you for an informal chat regarding a reported missing item." He pauses, just long enough for the next word to land hard. "Stolen," he says. And the word sits on my kitchen table in my mind. Like a weapon I didn't know was pointed at me. And the word sits on my kitchen table in my mind like a weapon I didn't know was pointed at me. I keep my voice steady anyway, because panic makes you sloppy. And sloppy is how people end up in handcuffs for something they didn't understand fast enough. "Detective," I say, and my throat is tight. "Where are you calling from?" He gives me a department name and a badge number, calm as if he's ordering coffee. My husband is watching my face like he's trying to read a language he never learned. My mother-in-law sits back in her chair, hands folded, serene, like she's already won. I don't give her my tears. "Can I call you back through the main line?" I ask. "I'm going to verify." There's a pause, just long enough to tell me he's real. "That's fine," he says. "I'll wait." I hang up and immediately search the department number, then call it. A receptionist answers, and I ask for Detective Harris by name. When she transfers me, the click in my ear is sharp and final, like a latch closing. Verified, I say when he comes back on. Now tell me exactly what this is about. He speaks slowly, like he's learned that the truth lands better when it's measured. A ring reported missing, he says. Family heirloom. The reporting party believes it may have been taken and sold. My mother-in-law's eyes don't leave my face. I feel my pulse in my teeth. But inside my head, a different part of me stands up. The part that coordinates emergencies, that makes checklists while everyone else spirals. I grab a notepad from the junk drawer. Pen. Date. Time. Name. Badge number. Summary. My hand shakes at first, then steadies as the list fills. Do you want me to come in, I ask? Yes, he says. We can keep it informal if you cooperate. Informal. Like the word stolen isn't sitting between us like a loaded gun. I will, I say, but I'm bringing documentation. He pauses again, and I can almost hear him adjusting his mental file of me. Bring what you have, he says. I end the call. The kitchen feels too bright. The air smells like coffee, cinnamon, and shame. My husband stands there, caught between me and his mother like a door someone forgot to lock. What is happening? He whispers. My mother-in-law reaches out as if to touch his arm, a soft claiming gesture. I'm worried, she says. I just want the truth. The words are honey with a hook inside. I look at my husband, and I choose my sentence the way you choose a key when you're not sure which door you're about to open. I'm going to tell you everything, I say, voice low. But first, I'm going to protect us from whatever she's building. He flinches like that hurts, and it does. I go to our bedroom and open the drawer where I keep old photos and loose keepsakes. My fingers find the small envelope of printed pictures from the proposal night. Cheap, glossy paper, corners curled. My father's old brass coin is in the same drawer, heavy and warm from being held too many times when I didn't know what else to do. I press my thumb into its ridged edge until it bites, grounding me in something real. Then I spread the photos across the bed like evidence. I zoom in on my phone, pinching the screen until the ring fills my vision. There it is, the micro scratch near the prong, the tiny flaw I used to rub when I was nervous. I zoom in closer, pixelated and perfect in its imperfection. I flip my hand over and stare at the ring that's on my finger right now. Because my mother-in-law made a big show of the missing ring, and my husband, frantic, dug through drawers until he found a ring in her jewelry box that she swore was returned. It sits on my finger like a dare. The band looks right. The engraving looks right. But when I rub the prong with my thumbnail, the scratch isn't there. My skin goes cold. I open my laptop and pull up every photo I can find. Holiday pictures, wedding shots, a blurry selfie at a gas station where my hand is on the steering wheel. I zoom and zoom until my eyes burn. My ring has a signature, a tiny scar, a specific tilt, a chip so small only someone who loved it would know. And the ring on my finger is too smooth, too perfect. Like a lie with good posture, I drive to a jeweler on my lunch break. The kind of place that smells like glass cleaner and velvet and money. The bell on the door gives a soft chime when I enter. My palms sweat around the brass coin in my pocket, its warmth pressing into my thigh like a reminder not to float away. The jeweler, an older woman with sharp eyes, takes my ring and studies it under a loupe. The overhead lights turn the stone into a hard white spark. She doesn't speak for a long moment. Then she looks up at me carefully, like she's stepping around something fragile. This stone is real, she says, but it's not the stone that belongs in this setting. My stomach drops so hard I have to grip the counter. What does that mean? I whisper. It means, she says, voice quiet, someone swapped it. Either the stone or the entire ring. The proportions are off. The wear pattern doesn't match the band. Wear pattern. The phrase is clinical, and it feels like oxygen to my drowning brain. Proof. I thank her and leave with my knees weak. In the parking lot, I sit in my car and force my breathing to slow in fours, like I'm talking myself off a ledge. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Then I pull out my wallet and find the pawn receipt I folded so carefully, the one I buried like a secret. The paper is creased. My signature is there, too bold, too heavy. I call the pawn shop and ask for a copy of the transaction file. I need the ID scan, I say, voice steady. Item description, serial numbers if any, all receipt lines. There's a pause on the other end. Why? The pawnbroker asks, guarded. Because a detective called me, I say, and I'm not walking into a bright room with badges without my own paperwork. He exhales, and I hear a printer whir in the background, that dry mechanical sound that makes my pulse spike again. Come in, he says, bring your ID. That afternoon, I stand at his counter again, the same hum of fluorescence, the same blinking red camera light. He slides a packet toward me in a manila envelope, thick with paper that suddenly feels like armor. I open it with trembling fingers. There's my license scan. There's my signature. There's the item description typed in clean black letters. And then my eyes catch a line in the fine print that makes my breath stop. Because the ring listed isn't described the way my ring would ever be described. Because the ring listed isn't described the way my ring would ever be described. I stare at the line until the letters blur. Metal type on paper. Cold. Certain. It says a stone type that doesn't match my memories. And it lists a weight that makes my mouth go dry. Because I know what my ring feels like when it presses into my skin on humid days. This description reads like a stranger's ring. Like a decoy dressed up in familiar clothes. The pawnbroker watches my face from behind the glass. His expression still neutral, but his posture slightly guarded, like he's bracing for a storm. You see it, he says quietly. I swallow, and this isn't how it should be written. He nods once. Your paperwork reflects what you brought in. The sentence lands like a quiet accusation, even though it isn't meant that way. I feel heat crawl up my neck. I didn't know, I say, and I hate how small it sounds. You thought it was yours, he finishes, and his eyes flick up to the blinking red of the camera for half a second. People think a lot of things. The fluorescent hum overhead seems louder now. I press my hand into my pocket and find the ridged edge of my father's brass coin. It's warm from my body heat, and the grooves bite my thumb just enough to keep me present. Checklist, I tell myself. Evidence. Chain. Timeline. Witnesses. I pull out my phone and photograph every page in the packet, slow and steady, making sure the corners are visible, making sure the item description is legible. The camera shutter makes soft little clicks that feel like I'm locking doors behind me. Can you also print your intake photo? I ask. The picture of the item when it came in, if you have one. His eyebrows lift a fraction. You're taking this seriously, he says. I have to, I reply, voice flat. A detective called me. He exhales through his nose and turns, and I hear the printer whir again. Dry, mechanical, relentless. When he hands me another page, the edges are still warm. A grainy picture of a ring on a felt pad. I can't tell from the photo if it's mine or the lie I've been wearing. But I can tell one thing. It looks too clean, too untouched. I leave with the packet tucked under my arm like a file folder, the coin heavy in my pocket, and my stomach full of ice. In my car, I don't start the engine right away. I just sit and breathe until my pulse stops trying to climb out of my throat. Then I do what I always do when the world turns dangerous. I build a system. At home, I clear the kitchen table. I lay the pages out in order. I write headings on a notepad in block letters. Photos, jeweler, pawn transaction, communications. The vent above the stove hums a steady note, and the sound becomes my metronome. I open my laptop and start a timeline. Date of the family dinner. Date I noticed the weight shift. Date I confronted her. Date I pawned the ring. Date she discovered it missing. Date the detective called. Each entry gets a screenshot, a photo, a document. When my hands shake, I press my thumb into the coin until the ridges leave a faint pattern in my skin. I call Detective Harris back through the main line again because if I'm going to hand over information, I'm doing it clean. Detective, I say when he answers. I have documentation, photos of the original ring, a jeweler's statement that the stone in the current ring doesn't match the setting, pawn transaction records that describe an item inconsistent with the ring being reported. There's a pause, and I hear the faint chirp of a radio in the background. Quick, clipped, official. You're saying you pawned a different ring, he says carefully. I'm saying I pawned the ring I had, I correct, slow. And the ring I had may not be the ring that's missing. Silence again. Then his tone shifts, the way it does when a case stops being a family squabble and starts becoming something else. Do not alter anything, he says. Keep originals, make copies for us. Bring everything in. I will, I say, and my voice is steadier than my insides. What about the person who reported it? We'll handle her, he replies, and that one sentence makes my skin prickle. Handle her, not humor her, not listen politely. Handle. After I hang up, my phone buzzes with another message from my husband. Where are you? What did you do? Mom says you're lying. The words blur, and my chest tightens with something that feels like grief. I want to call him. I want to tell him everything at once, spill it out so fast it can't be twisted. But I know my mother-in-law. If I go to him half-assembled, she'll finish the story for me. So I keep building my case. I dig into the resale world like it's a second language I have to learn before nightfall. Consignment agreements, private buyers, auction houses with compliance pages and integrity departments and carefully written promises about provenance. It has its own bloodstream, pulsing under the surface of polite society. Money moves quietly. Objects get cleaned. Stories get rewritten. My friend Dana texts me around dinner time. One message, then another, then a link. Isn't this your ring, she writes? My stomach drops so hard my chair feels like it tilts. I click. A glossy auction live stream page loads, all bright graphics and countdown clocks. The sound plays automatically, music, upbeat, like this is entertainment, like it isn't my life on a rotating stand. I scrub the volume down, but I can't scrub the panic out of my body. The ring appears on screen in a preview clip, turning under studio lights. Gold band. Familiar profile. My breath catches when the camera dips to the inside for half a second. There, the engraving. A specific phrase, a specific spacing. A tiny unevenness in one letter that only one ring should have. My heart recognizes it the way you recognize a voice you love through a wall. The ring I pawned was the decoy. The swap at dinner wasn't about helping me. It was about positioning me. Give me a clean, convincing copy. Let me be desperate. Let me be ashamed. Let me create a transaction trail with my own name on it. Then send the real ring into the upscale world, where it can be sold clean through an auction house with glossy lighting and chat moderators. My hands go cold. My father's coin is still in my pocket, warm and heavy, and I grip it so hard the ridges bite deep. I can already hear my mother-in-law's voice if I confront her privately. You're emotional. You're confused. You're ruining him. So I decide to do the one thing she never expects from me. I don't go quiet. I don't beg. I don't whisper behind closed doors where she can edit me. I'm going to confess first, in public, where she can't rewrite the narrative fast enough. I open the live stream. The countdown hits single digits. My screen reflects my own face, pale, eyes too wide. A little chime sounds as the stream goes live. The host's voice booms, cheerful, and the chat starts racing so fast it's unreadable. My thumb hovers over the comment box. I feel the coins heat in my palm like a warning and a promise at the same time. Then the host grins into the camera and says, "Callers, we're open." Then the host grins into the camera and says, "Callers, we're open." The words hit me like a starting gun. My phone is already in my hand, but it feels heavier now, like it's turned into a witness. The live stream audio is too bright, too cheerful, like a morning show. Behind it, the auctioneer's cadence starts up, fast, rhythmic, relentless, like a drum you can't stop once it gets going. The ring rotates under studio lights, slow and polished, a perfect little planet of gold. Every turn throws a flare of white across the lens. On my kitchen table, the velvet ring box sits open beside me like a mouth that can't close. The hinge gives a tiny metal click when I bump it with my wrist, and the sound punches straight through my ribs. I taste copper. My palms are damp, and the phone rattles softly against the wood when my hand tremors. The chat on screen moves so fast it's almost solid, a river of words I can't drink from. I don't try to read it. I go to procedure, because procedure doesn't care if you're scared. Screen record on, volume down just enough to hear myself breathe. Screenshot button ready, notes app open, blank page waiting like a report. I press my thumb into the ridged edge of my father's brass coin in my pocket until it bites back. Warm metal, a small private pain that keeps me here. The host points at the camera, smiling too wide. "All right, friends," he says, "we've got a stunner up next. Family estate piece, verified engraving, you know the drill." Verified. The word slides under my skin. The auctioneer's voice rises. "Opening bid at..." My thumb hovers over the call-in icon. The last chance to stay quiet flashes in my mind, the way it always does right before you do something that will change everything. If I do this, my mother-in-law can't put it back in the box. If I don't, she'll close the lid on me instead. I tap. A tone rings out 1-2 tinny through my phone speaker. The coin warms under my grip like it's agreeing with me. The call connects, and a producer's voice comes in sharp and brisk. "Name?" I give my first name only. My voice sounds strange, like it's coming from someone else's throat. "Reason for calling?" I swallow, the ring turns, and the lights flare. "I need to make a statement," I say, "about the ring on your stand." A pause. Then, "Your live in 10 seconds, keep it brief." 10 seconds. My heartbeat tries to sprint. I force it back down with a breath, like I'm steadying a shaking patient with my hands. In. Hold. Out. The host tilts his head like he's listening to the producer in his ear. "Okay," he says, still smiling. "We've got a caller. You're on." The room around me is quiet except for the vent hum and the live stream audio. My husband isn't here. My mother-in-law isn't here. But I can feel them both like gravity. The ring box hinge clicks again as my hand tightens, and I speak before fear can take the wheel. "I sold the ring," I say. There's a beat of silence so clean it feels like the whole internet stops breathing. My confession hangs in the air, heavy and ugly, exactly the kind of sentence she could weaponize forever. The host's smile twitches. "Okay," he says carefully, like he's stepping around a spill. "Can you clarify what you mean by that?" My mouth goes dry. "I pawned it," I say, and the words burn. "I thought it was mine. I made a choice." The auctioneer's rhythm stutters, just a fraction. And then, on the screen, the pawnbroker, standing off to the side of the set like an expert they've brought in to talk authenticity, goes still. It's subtle, but I see it. His posture changes. His eyes narrow, not at the ring, but at something off camera, like a scent just hit him. The host keeps talking, trying to hold the show together. Folks, we want to remind everyone. No, the pawnbroker says. One word. Flat, certain. The host blinks. Excuse me? The pawnbroker steps forward into the light, and his face shifts through recognition, irritation, and something colder, certainty that has paperwork behind it. You didn't sell that ring, he says, looking straight into the lens like he's talking to me through glass. My stomach drops so hard I grab the table edge. The coin in my pocket presses into my palm like a warning. Yes, I did, I whisper, even though he can't hear my whisper. I did. But the pawnbroker isn't speaking to my guilt. He's speaking to the record. He taps a finger against a clipboard just out of frame, and the little tap is louder to me than the auctioneer's whole chant. I know exactly who brought that ring in, he says. The host's smile is gone now. A producer's voice murmurs faintly in the background of the stream, urgent and contained. The chat goes from fast to frantic, a flood of speculation I still refuse to read. My phone buzzes against the table, another incoming call I ignore without looking. I don't move. I don't blink. I keep my eyes on this pawnbroker as if staring can force the truth to hold its shape. He glances off camera again. His jaw tightens, then he turns his head toward the audience seating area. And I finally notice the crowd shot they've been cutting away from, people in neat clothes, faces lit by their phones, enjoying the spectacle. And there she is. Cream blazer, pearl stud, that familiar chin-up posture like she's above consequences. My mother-in-law is sitting 3 rows back, perfectly still, as if she's just another bidder. As if she didn't build this whole trap with her hands. The pawnbroker's voice drops, not dramatic, just professional. Ma'am, he says, eyes locked on her. Please don't leave. For half a second, she doesn't move. Then she stands up anyway. For half a second, she doesn't move. Then she stands up anyway. Not startled, not confused. She rises like she's leaving a fundraiser early because the dessert isn't worth it. The cream blazer smooths over her shoulders as if nothing in the room has changed. On my screen, the camera catches her profile. Chin lifted, lips set in that practiced softness that always reads as innocence to people who don't know her. My own phone rattles against the table when my hand jerks, and the open velvet ring box makes that tiny hinge click again, sharp as a trigger. The host's smile freezes into something brittle. All right, folks, he says, voice climbing. We're going to... The pawnbroker cuts through him, calm and flat. Ma'am, he repeats, louder now. Please do not leave. My mother-in-law turns halfway as if she's surprised anyone is speaking to her like that. Her eyebrows lift. Her mouth curves into a polite little question. The performance begins. She taps her chest with 2 fingers, delicate. Me, she mouths, and even through a screen I can feel the audacity of it. In my pocket, my father's brass coin is warm against my palm, ridges biting in as I squeeze it. I press down hard, anchoring myself. Record. Screenshot. Note. Breathe. The pawnbroker steps closer to the camera, and his face fills the frame. Professional, unromantic. The kind of man who lives inside paperwork. He doesn't call her names. He doesn't accuse her like it's drama. He identifies her like it's a ledger entry. Mrs. Talbot, he says, using her last name with a precision that makes my stomach drop. You can sign this ring. The room behind him seems to quiet. The audience frozen in that uncomfortable moment when entertainment turns into consequence. My mother-in-law's head snaps slightly, like someone has tugged a string behind her ear. She laughs, one quick airy sound. That's ridiculous, she says, and her voice is bright. Almost amused, like she's doing everyone a favor by correcting a misunderstanding. The host's eyes dart off camera, desperate. A producer's murmur leaks through the mic, urgent and low. But the pawnbroker keeps going, steady as a stamp. Consignment date, he says, and he glances down at a clipboard just out of frame. Transaction type, estate consignment. Agreement signed, identification verified. My mother-in-law lifts one hand, palm out, like she's soothing a child. I don't know what you're talking about, she says, and she takes a step toward the aisle. I'm leaving. 2 people stand up behind her, not uniformed, no flashing lights. Plain clothes, purposeful movement. They rise with the quiet speed of professionals who don't need permission from a room full of strangers. One of them angles slightly to her left, blocking the most direct path without touching her. The other stays half a step behind, hands visible, calm. The pawnbroker's voice stays even, but it sharpens around the edges. Driver's license on file, he says. We have your signature. It matches the agreement. My mother-in-law's polite mask cracks for the first time. What are you implying? She snaps. And the word implying is one she uses when she's about to accuse you of disrespect. The coin in my pocket feels hotter now, like it's soaking up my panic. I watch her jaw tighten, watch her eyes flick to the exits, calculating. The pawnbroker turns his head slightly, like he's listening to someone in his earpiece. Then he looks back into the camera and says the part that makes my skin go cold. "We have security footage from my counter," he says. "We have chain of custody on this item from intake to auction." Chain of custody. The phrase lands like a gavel in my chest. It's what turns a story into a case file. It's what turns a family dinner into evidence. My mother-in-law's face drains of color in a way she can't control. Then she floods it with anger to cover the fear. "This is harassment," she says, voice rising. "Do you know who I am?" One of the plainclothes detectives speaks for the first time, and his voice is low enough that the live stream mic barely catches it. "Ma'am," he says, "please remain seated." She whips her head toward him. "You can't tell me what to do," she spits. And the rage is sudden, ugly, real. The host keeps talking over it, trying to keep the broadcast from collapsing. "Let's just refocus," he says, strained. "We're going to move to the next item." But the camera won't let go. It's locked onto the movement in the audience now, because the truth is more compelling than any lot number. My mother-in-law's hand flies to her purse strap, like she's about to yank it free and run. The detective steps with her, smooth and blocking. Still no grabbing. Still controlled. Authority without theatrics. She tries again, softer this time, eyes widening, voice turning syrupy. "I think you have the wrong person," she says, and the switch is so fast it makes me nauseous. "This is humiliating. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother." The pawnbroker doesn't blink. "Your identification number is recorded," he says. "Your signature is recorded." She swallows hard. Her eyes dart around the room like she's searching for someone to rescue her with social pressure. Someone to say, "Surely not her." Then she turns towards the camera and does the last thing she always does when the first two masks fail. She cries. Not messy. Controlled tears that cling to the lower lashes, designed to look dignified. "This is unbelievable," she whispers, voice trembling now, and she presses a hand to her chest. "I am being attacked." The detective to her right says something into his sleeve, barely visible. A small movement that screams radio call without showing the radio. A soft chirp leaks through somewhere on the set. That quick official beep that makes my stomach flip. Because it means the system is moving. My phone buzzes hard against the table. Once. Twice. A name lights up the screen like a flare. My husband. The ring box hinge clicks as my hand shifts, and I realize I'm gripping the edge of the velvet so hard I'm crushing it. The live stream audio blares. The host is still talking, too loud, trying to keep the auctioneer going like nothing is happening. Like this is a minor technical issue. But my mother-in-law's voice slices through again, sharp with desperation under the tears. "Call my son," she says, "call my son right now." My husband's call keeps buzzing. The coin in my pocket is hot and heavy, ridges biting into my thumb like it's insisting I stay grounded. I answer. "Hello," my voice comes out thin. His breath is loud in my ear, like he's been running. "What did you do?" he asks, voice stripped down to shock. "What did you do?" "What did you do?" he asks, voice stripped down to shock. "What did you do?" I squeeze my eyes shut for half a second. Because if I try to answer this with emotion, I'll sound exactly like the version of me your mother has been selling for years. "I need you to listen," I say, and my voice comes out quieter than I expect. "I pawned a ring I thought was mine, and your mom consigned the real one to that auction." His inhale is sharp. "That's not," he starts, then stops, because the live stream audio is leaking through his phone too. He's watching it somewhere. He can hear the pawnbroker saying her name. He can hear the room turning. In my pocket, the brass coin is hot under my thumb, ridges digging into skin like it's keeping me upright. "I have paperwork," I say, fast now. Photos of my original ring, the pawn transaction description, the jeweler's statement about the stone not matching the setting. I didn't realize the swap until she accused me. Silence. Then his voice drops to something small. "You pawned it?" "Yes," I say. "I did that. I'm not pretending I didn't. But the ring I pawned is not the ring on that stand." On the live stream, my mother-in-law's tears keep shining on her lashes, like she's wearing them on purpose. The host talks louder, trying to drown out the truth with energy. The pawnbroker doesn't move. The detectives do. They guide her towards the exit with that same quiet control. No drama, no grabbing, just the unmistakable shape of authority closing around her options. My husband's voice wavers. "Why would she?" "Because she needed a villain," I say, and the words taste bitter. She needed a clean way to sell it, and a dirty way to blame someone else. My phone buzzes again on the table, a hard, angry vibration. A new call tries to cut in. Unknown number. I don't have to guess. I can picture her doing it. Thumbs stabbing at her screen, calling from a detective's proximity, like she can still reach through people and pull the strings. I decline it. My ring box hinge clicks when my hand shifts. That tiny metal sound sharp as a lock turning. Do not answer her, I tell my husband. And my voice turns procedural because it has to. Not right now, let the detectives do their job. He makes a broken sound, half laugh, half sob. This is insane. I know, I whisper, but it's real. The live stream jolts as the camera operator swings toward the aisle. For a second, the mic catches a radio chirp. Quick, official, then a low voice saying, "Ma'am, this way." My mother-in-law looks over her shoulder, and the camera catches her face fully. No tears now, just a tight mouth and eyes that are calculating again, already searching for the next lever. The feed cuts to the ring on the stand, as if the show is begging the internet to forget the woman behind the glass and focus on the object instead. But the object is the proof, and the proof has already spoken. I move without thinking, sliding my documents into a folder like I'm packing a go bag. Receipts, screenshots, printed photos, jeweler's note, pawn packet. I hear my own breathing, fast and shallow, and force it slower, counting in my head the way I do when I'm coordinating a crisis. In for 4. Hold. Out for 4. Hold. My husband is still on the line. Where are you? He asks. At home, I say. I'm going in to give a statement. I'm bringing everything. Wait, he says and his voice cracks. I'm coming. No, I say, and it's the first time I've ever used that tone with him. Firm, not cruel. If you show up raw and angry, she'll make you her shield. I need you clear. He swallows, and I can hear the sound of him losing something he thought was permanent. Okay, he whispers. Okay, tell me what to do. That sentence steadies me more than anything else. Stay available, I tell him. Do not speak to her. If detectives contact you, answer them. If she calls, do not. I hang up before he can argue because my hands are shaking again and I need them steady. At the station, the air is dry and over-conditioned, smelling faintly of toner and disinfectant. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead, that same harsh hum that makes every mistake feel louder. A uniformed officer directs me to a small room with a table bolted to the floor. The chair legs scrape when I sit. My folder lands on the table with a dull thud that feels like a gavel. Detective Harris comes in with a notepad and a calm face. He looks at my folder, then at my hands. You brought a lot, he says. I brought truth, I answer, and my voice surprises me with how steady it is. He nods once, then slides a form toward me. Statement, consent to copy documents. Chain of custody receipt for digital media if I hand over recordings. Procedure, clean lines. I hand him my phone and show him the screen recordings, the screenshots, the clip where the pawnbroker says her name. He doesn't react like the internet. He reacts like someone building a case brick by brick. Email these to this address, he says, tapping a card. And we'll take a copy of your originals. He pulls on gloves, soft snap, and the sound makes my stomach flutter. Not because I'm guilty, because gloves mean evidence, and evidence means there's no going back to pretending. He places my printed pawn packet into a clear evidence sleeve, seals it, writes initials across the seal. A pen scratches. A stamp thumps. The paperwork makes my shame official, then transforms it into something else. Something usable. Something that can't be laughed off at brunch. Over the next days, my life becomes calendars and calls. An interview time. A follow-up question about the dinner date. A request for the jeweler's business card. A subpoena notice for the auction house's records. Numbers get written down. Dates get circled. Everything that used to feel like fog turns into black ink on white paper. My mother-in-law tries to perform innocence in messages I don't answer, then rage in voicemails I save. Then tears in a handwritten note she slips into our mailbox like she still has access. I photograph it. I log it. I hand it over. Because I learn quickly, authority doesn't bend when paperwork is clean. The day the ring comes back, it arrives the way truth often does. Sealed, labeled, handled with gloves. An evidence technician slides a clear bag across the counter, and inside it, the ring looks smaller than I remember. Not because it changed, because the power I gave it did. My hands tremble as I sign for its release. Pen scratching, paper shifting. A quiet radio beeps somewhere behind the desk. I open the evidence bag with permission, careful and slow, like I'm unwrapping something fragile that once hurt me. The gold is cool against my skin. The micro scratch is there under my thumbnail, exactly where it's always been. Like a secret that refused to be erased. I slide it onto my finger, and it fits like it never left. My brass coin sits heavy in my pocket, warm against my thigh, and I finally understand what I'm carrying and what I'm done carrying.